Or was it fire?
All right, good, that's good. Hi guys.
Hi.
Thanks for coming today. Happy Saturday. Hope you're having a good day so far. My name's Chris. If I haven't met you guys before, I'm the owner at Ripple Effect here. You've been around since this June. I think I've met most of you except for a couple. If I haven't met you, make sure you introduce yourself after. So I want to meet you all. So our purpose today is kind of twofold. First of all, it's just a general information on some nutrition basics, like how we can start moving the needle in our everyday life. And it's also, the end, we'll talk more about our nutrition challenge that starts up tomorrow and what that is and how you can get involved in all that good stuff too. So very closely tied together. If you're doing the challenge, all the stuff we're going to talk about today is just really going to help you during the 4 weeks. Not the challenge, it's still going to help you anyway. So it's a little different take than I've done in the past on nutrition starts. So I'm excited for this one. Like, there's kind of a couple different sections. We talk a lot about mindset today, like how we can approach starting to work on nutrition. Before we even decide what we're going to do, like how we're going to do it and approach it, because that's really important. We'll talk about 4 different areas of your life that you can start to focus on if you have no idea where to start, and what that actually looks like in a day-to-day setting. And then we'll talk a little bit more about behavior change and how to make something a habit, because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. How do we get better habits that are going to help move the needle a little bit at a time? So that's how we're gonna roll today. It's gonna be fun. You can ask questions at any time if you have questions, concerns, thoughts. We'll talk about the in-body test stuff at the end, how to read that and everything. So don't get caught up if you're like no idea what you're looking at. Don't worry, we'll talk about that. So, are you gonna do this for me here, computer? No, you're not gonna go forward on your slides? Perfect. The first thing we're gonna talk about here is what I call the all or nothing mentality. This is, I think, one of the single biggest limiting factors that gets in people's way when they're trying to start making changes, whether it's exercise or nutrition or whatever. It's the thought that like something's either healthy or not healthy, like I'm in shape or I'm not in shape. Yeah, I'm gonna be committed or I'm just like not gonna do anything. I used to be like this, especially with my workouts. Like, oh, if I can't do the whole workout that I want to do today, I'm not gonna do anything. Like, I'm gonna have my 2 hours, I'm gonna have 0. Not a very healthy way to approach something, right? But we see that all the time. With nutrition, sometimes it comes in the form of like, oh, I had a cookie this morning, the day is wasted, I might as well eat pizza. I'm like, just whatever, I'll start again tomorrow. Like, right? Again, there's a lot of room in between eating everything and eating nothing, right? So that's what we're going to start with, is how to overcome this and why it gets in our way and everything, and just some different ways to think about it. So in reality, everything is on a spectrum, a continuum, right? Your health, like how healthy a food is, like all these different things. It's not a good or bad, a black or white. It's a spectrum, right? So this is common in the CrossFit world. It's this wellness continuum, right? We have sickness and fitness, and kind of in the middle is being well. We have all the different ways to measure it too, right? Our performance in the gym, our in-body scan, our body weight. Like all those are just different tools. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is keep taking steps to continue to move us up the spectrum, right? It's not just a green dot here and then nothing and a red dot there, right? There's all of this. This is where probably all of us are. You're not dead if you're here, but you know, you're not like, and really this can kind of keep going forever. Like there's no like finite limit yet. I don't think anyone's gotten there yet anyway to fitness. So this is just a helpful way to think about every choice you make during the day, whether it's what you're eating, what you're doing, who you're hanging out with, like all that stuff, like affects where we would move on that spectrum, right? So that's just something to think about. It's not to overwhelm you with like, oh my God, if I eat this piece of pasta, like, am I going to go up or down? Like, this is just a way to think about, and it should be a little bit freeing. Like, okay, I can have this donut now, knowing that a lot of the other choices I'm going to make today, I'm still focusing on getting up overall. I'm moving in the right direction, but still enjoying life. That's a good thing, right? It's nice. So, like I said, every day is full of small decisions that we make, and every decision moves up, down. Maybe it keeps us the same, but chances are it's moving us somewhere. So for most people that I work with, I find like 70 to 80% adherence is what you need to be able to continue to make good, solid progress, like in the gym, like with your body fat, with your composition, whatever you're trying to work towards, but also still like enjoy life and get to do the things you like, eat the foods you like, go out with people and all that stuff too. So again, it's not 100%. Like I'm not perfect, like never eating another donut again, or I'm eating all the donuts all the time. right? Like maybe that means that all the time food that you used to have all the time is just now sometimes food. Like, okay, it used to be every night, and now I just have my glass of wine on the weekends, something like that, right? So we can still find that happy medium where life is still good, we get to do the stuff we like, but we can still make a lot of progress. So again, hopefully that's like a freeing thing for you, but I know a lot of people get stuck in the 100 or nothing, especially this time of year. It's just kind of how it is. And it also means we have a lot of opportunities to celebrate victories. We have all these decisions we're making every single day. It's a good chance to continue to just breed more motivation, right? Motivation doesn't breed success, it's the other way around. Like we have to find ways to find success so that we stay motivated, right? It's just how it works. A lot of times people think it's the other way around. Like I'm super motivated, so I'm definitely gonna do it this time. And you set the goal way over there and then never pay any attention to it until you get there. But as we keep making smarter choices, it's just a chance for us to keep finding small successes to keep us going in the long run. So that's the thing we need. We need that consistency. We have to just keep making small choices to keep moving up there. That's the most important piece. Tell the people in the gym, like on ramp day one, okay, if you do nothing else, just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Don't worry about your performance or how much weight you think you should be lifting or whatever. Just keep showing up. And nutrition is kind of the same way. Like you just keep showing up, keep it in your mind over time, and you'll help make better choices. You guys following so far? Yeah. Makes sense? So keeping that in mind, like as we talk about the different areas we can focus on in our nutrition, we want to approach everything with that kind of like continuum spectrum mindset instead of the all or nothing, right? So here's some places to start. Like what do I actually need to do to be healthier, to lose body fat, build muscle? Like those are the main things goals people have, right? Most people want to lose some fat, get stronger, feel better in the gym. That's pretty typical, right? A little bit of each would be nice, great, sure. So how can we actually start doing that? Like if we're not necessarily doing anything specific now. I think there's 4 kind of like main areas that I think 95% of people, at least one of these, aren't doing as well as they could. And this is where to start. All right, so simple, it doesn't mean it's easy. Eat more veggies and whole foods, less sugar and processed carbs. Drink more water, less soda and alcohol. Move more, sit less. Get enough quality sleep. That's it, people. Like, you know, like people come to like, oh, like what supplements should I be taking? I'm like, are you doing any of these? Like, well, no, I get like 4 hours of sleep. I sit at my desk all day. I'm like, oh, bro, that creatine is going to do 0 for you, right? This is where to start with. Even things like counting macros, some of those like pretty popular things out there, like this is going to help you. This is going to get you 80% of the way, and then that other stuff is just like the icing on top. So this is where we're going to spend our time talking about these kind of different 4 areas. What we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're doing, and then making sure we get enough sleep. Like that's, right, this is more than nutrition. This is like lifestyle stuff. But if we're not sleeping enough, we can be making the best ever choices in the eating realm and still be sabotaging ourselves and still not seeing the results we want. So these are all connected. They're all important. That being said, you kind of just need to pick somewhere to start. Don't do everything at once. So
you need more fruits and vegetables?
Yeah.
Just vegetables?
No, I mean, yes, whole foods includes fruits, right? I originally had eat more veggies and less sugar, and I added that in. So yeah, good question, but we'll talk more about like what each of these means. Like that's next. These are kind of the 4 main categories: food, hydration, movement, and sleep. Coincidentally, in our nutrition challenge coming up, those are the 4 weekly topics we're going to focus on, right? See where this is going. So whole foods and veggies. This is just how we optimize the nutritional content that we're getting. It's the best food for us is the food that's not heavily processed and preservatives and all that good stuff. It's like closest to its natural form while still being edible. People say like, well, what about like cashews? If you eat those raw, you'll die. Like, I'm not talking about like literally never processed in any way. This is one of those questions. It's not all or nothing, right? Like, yeah. So we want foods that are nutrient dense versus calorie dense, right? Like a Big Mac is calorie dense, but has like not a whole lot of nutrient action going on. Our whole foods like fruits and vegetables and lean proteins and things like that are nutrient dense too. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, right? You're getting the calories we need for energy, but also a lot of those micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals and things like that just help our body function in the right way. Whole foods tend to digest more slowly and evenly than processed and sweetened foods, which is really important. The food you eat has a huge effect on your hormones in your body, like huge effect, way more than most people realize. So if we eat super sugary foods that have like no fiber or anything, like soda is a good example, sugar bomb your body, insulin goes crazy, then you're in this low, so you eat more sugar, so then you just end up on this roller coaster of craziness of feeling hungry and tired, but then like kind of wired, but then terrible again. We want to be more even keeled, keep that blood sugar nice and even, keep our hormones nice and even. We do it by eating these whole foods instead of stuff that is heavily sweetened, especially. So that just encourages healthy hormone balance and blood sugar. Like you want to have feel like you have like good energy, even keel mood. It's good stuff. And they tend to be more satisfying than a lot of the processed and sweetened foods. This is a big one. Like, snack food industry is a big industry. And if they can make that chip like 5% less satisfying, like that's great for them, because that's how you can sit down and eat a whole bag of chips and not really feel full, because that's exactly by design. They're made to feel as little satisfying as possible. Whereas these whole foods, the calories might be about the same, but you're just going to feel full, so you're going to stop eating and not just keep going, which is a good thing, right? And we're trying to just control our portions and things. So that makes sense. You guys follow along. You understand like what I mean by whole foods and unprocessed, right? You hear like shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Still to this day is a really good way to think about it. Stay away from the crackers and all that stuff, the Cheez-Its.
Hey, watch it.
With somebody, right?
Called out.
You were preaching before, but now you're meddling.
Right, but even so, there's not like a, right? We're not talking about healthy foods and unhealthy foods. There's a spectrum, right? We have a lot of different choices we can make, and you want to start with thinking like, okay, if I usually in the afternoon I eat a Snickers for my afternoon snack, right? Just because I got to have something. I always crash at work, so I grab a couple of the little Snickers from my drawer or whatever. You guys know that game. I used to work a desk job. Like that was the name of the game. Like every day. Like what's like something slightly better that I could do, and start with that, right? It doesn't have to go from like Snickers to nothing, right? I'm not saying don't eat anything, but what can we do that's like slightly, right? We can kind of see our spectrum here. A little bit less sugar, not much, but I'm gonna get a little bit of whole grain in there. That's good, right? Our ingredients just keep getting a little bit better, a little bit simpler too, right? You can see fewer ingredients as you work your way up the spectrum here too. That's something to note. Right, so we still have 4 different kind of prepackaged things. We can still find something that's better than what we were doing before. Sure, optimally, maybe we're just kind of eating the component ingredients like nuts and seeds and a little bit of fruit. Right, but there's a lot of room to improve from wherever you're at. So that's where I start with people. Like, if I usually make a decision that's like a 5 out of 10 on the scale of like best to worst, what could I do that would be a 6 today or a 7? Like that feels doable versus going from Snickers to kale, right? So there's a big difference right there. So again, that's an exercise I like to do with my nutrition clients, is have them think about a situation like a lot of people like happy hours come up. Like, man, when I go to happy hour, I always have like 6 beers and half a pizza, and I just like always feel gross after, and say, okay, like that sounds like you want to make a better choice there. Like, what's something that's a little bit better? Like, what are some guardrails you can put around it? Like, you still get to have a drink, you still get to have some food, right? Maybe that turns into like 3 beers, and then we switch to water, and then eat 2 pieces of pizza instead of 7, right? There's just a lot of ways to play that. We don't have to go all or nothing. Make sense? Yeah. Cool. So, right, I know that's like the whirlwind, like 5-minute version of eating healthy foods, right? But there's a lot of other stuff to get through, so we can come back if we have questions on anything specific. But I want to talk a little bit about drinking more water and less soda and alcohol. So this is just like kind of some fun facts here about these 3 different buckets. I think most people know like I should be drinking more water. Like that's not surprising, but I think people underestimate how important it really is, and the effects that you're feeling, that some of the symptoms you have that you attribute to other stuff can sometimes just be you're not drinking enough water, right? Like irritability and fatigue. Like sometimes you're just in a bad mood, like, oh, you haven't drank any water today. You've just had, whatever, that 1 glass of chocolate milk 3 hours ago. People mistake being thirsty for hungry all the time. So by being proactive about, drinking enough water, right, depends on the person, but like 50-ish ounces a day. It's different if you're 6'6" versus 5 feet, right? There's all that stuff in there, but drinking enough water can help us ensure that we're eating when we're hungry and not eating when we're really just thirsty. So you get some water through your food, like that's going to satiate part of that, but you might just feel like you keep eating because you just don't have enough water in your system. Your body's like, come on, man, let's grease the groove a little bit here. And it also increases our body's ability to burn fat for energy. Being hydrated helps you burn fat, like it's been proven in studies again and again. So if that is one of your goals, drinking water will help. It's a super simple way to start. Like if you don't know where to start, like just track your water, like drink 6 glasses a day, something like that, because it absolutely will help you. And soda and alcohol, again, it's kind of the same thing. Like people know, like I probably shouldn't drink as much as I do, but there's some different ways that they affect us that we might not realize. So soda falls into that sweetened food category. Like it's like the most like simplified like sugar bomb that you can possibly get. There's no fiber, there's no anything else, right? It affects our body very differently. Something like fruit, right? Fruit has like the fiber and the peel, all that stuff. Like it's going to digest a little more slowly. Our body's built to handle that. This is like distilling, you know, even like a glass of apple juice. It's kind of in the same thing. It's like taking all the sugar from like 6 apples, put it into 1 glass, and then like let's go, right? That blood sugar is going to spike like crazy. Your body's going to dump a bunch of insulin, more than it even needs, because it's like emergency mode. So then you go back down that roller coaster, and you're just on it all day long. So then you feel like you need more. So you just keep going to it. And then you're like, oh, I drank 6 Cokes today. Cool. Right? So those spikes in blood sugar, that moves, mental fog, low energy, and more sugar cravings. So it just keeps feeding the beast, which is great for soda companies, not great for us, right?
So Diet Coke?
Good question. And that, if you see our spectrum here, like it's, I will say, because it doesn't have quite the same effect, negative effect on blood sugar, I will say it is higher on that like continuum than the full sugar version. One thing I like to, like when people ask about foods like that, instead of thinking like, oh, how bad for me is it? Think about like, what is it doing for you? Like, not really anything. It's just there. It's not really helping you. It's probably hurting you more than it's helping you, I guess, is the grand scheme of things. We can get a little bit more into like try and prevent going deep into chemistry stuff. But with stuff like diet sodas, right, that are just kind of there, every time you eat something or drink something, unless it's just water, your body has to expend some of its like micronutrients and like things like calcium and potassium, things like that, to process the food you're eating, right? So you got to spend money to make money. You can think of it that way. So if I'm spending those hard-earned micronutrients like calcium and potassium, things our body needs, on processing Diet Coke, which gives me 0 of those back, you end up in a slight deficit over time, right? And that's just, if all you did was drink diet soda, yeah, that'd be bad news. But you got to take it in the bigger picture. If your worst vice is drinking a couple of Diet Cokes a week, you got to look at the whole picture, right? Look at the whole picture. Sorry, that's probably more answer than you wanted, but that's just some of it. When people talk about things like empty calories, that's how I like to think of it, as like your body is spending all its energy and micronutrients and not getting anything back in return, right? It's like, what is this food doing for me? It's not going to be. So alcohol, I think, is another one of those things that people just don't quite realize how much of an effect it has, especially on body fat. Like, your body is processing that alcohol first, right? It's a toxin. It's not like meant to be in you, which is why it gets you drunk, which is like, the fun part, I guess. But, right, if you do a bunch of exercise that day and then go and have a few beers, your body's going to process that alcohol first, get that taken care of before it then would move on to like your body fat, for example. So if you're trying to lose weight, lose body fat, I guess, that's going to get your way a little bit. Again, it's like, if I'm having 2 beers a week, is it going to hurt me that much? No. So it's all, you have to look at the bigger picture. But it does have more an effect than people think. That definitely falls into that empty calories category a lot of times too. Your body's just having to work really hard to process it, but not getting much back in return. And there's something at the bottom there that got cut off. Oh yeah, often loaded with some extra calories without much nutritional benefit, right? Yeah, I mean, I know people that if they just drank half as much beer and wine as they did, they'd probably start seeing the results they wanted within like a month. That's just how it works sometimes. And it disrupts your sleep too. Releases some hormones, like stress hormones, and in the night it releases hormones that make you pee more, which is going to keep waking up, worse quality sleep. So again, all these pieces kind of feed each other. So yeah, just some things to think about here. If we drink a little bit more water, drink a little bit less of those, it's going to help move the needle. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be only that and never those, right? That's not what we're trying to say. Just have to keep the grand scheme in mind.
So do you have that continuum again?
Yeah, I'll show you that to you again. So here's just like an example, right? And there's tons of different kinds of drinks out there. Like you can start with, this is kind of just like a sweetened, just like a sugary drink. Like, all right, so there's Coke, Diet Coke, fruit juice, because at least you're getting some like vitamin C and stuff like that. Still like really gonna affect that blood sugar like significantly. LaCroix is great, like that like popularization of these unsweetened, like naturally flavored drinks has been really helpful, I think, for the health of the country in the long run, actually, because people are drinking that instead of soda. Still gets you that fizzy drink, still tastes good, but significantly different impact on our bodies than a sweet version. And then there's just water at the top. But you could do something like this with like a coffee drink too. Like if you're like the 40-ounce like Frappuccino person down here at like the 600-calorie ones, like, okay, we can start moving up, and then, you know, black coffee with some cream, coffee and cream with sugar, like smaller version of your thing. Like there's any way you can do this. You could make your own continuum of like, what's something I usually eat, and then what would this look like if I wanted to go 2 steps up and 2 steps down? Right? You could keep going down from here too if you wanted to. You can always keep going down. That can turn into like the big gulp, and then the child-sized one from Parks and Rec, like 300 ounces or whatever.
Just a comment about Coke. It's less calories. I think it's like 160 versus a lot of them are 210 or more. So on a calorie realm than sodas, it's better, but it also unclogs drains and does all kinds
Right.
of stuff.
It's a very good solvent.
It's pretty
Right?
crazy
It's
what
just, yeah, and
it's
that's,
for, but
you know, part we didn't talk, like usually any sort of carbonated drink, including like LaCroix, is going to be pretty acidic. So that's just, you know, you can get into the weeds as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like most non-diet sodas are going to be down there somewhere. Calories are not, right? And there's a range of, I always like to drink Tahitian Treat when I was a kid. You guys know that one, the red stuff. There's like 60 grams of sugar in one can. It's insane.
what is it?
Yeah. Tahitian Treat. It's got like palm trees on it. It's like bright red, like Hawaiian Punch. It's like carbonated Hawaiian Punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like,
We're all gonna go.
it's really intense. Right? Think about that. 60 grams of sugar. 1 gram of sugar is about 1 sugar cube. 60 of those suckers in one can. Boom. That is, you know, the amount of like acid they have to put in so it doesn't overwhelm you with sweetness is like pretty staggering too. So it's just like a nice cocktail. I'm not trying to like, you know, pick anybody who likes soda. It's just what it is. Yeah.
Can you speak to the acidity of LaCroix?
Yeah. Any sort of like carbonating any beverage makes it more acidic than if it were not carbonated. So like, you know, it's not something you probably notice on a day-to-day basis. It's less acidic than some of the more sugary drinks, definitely less acidic than like a citrus. Right? It's all relative. It's more acidic than water. So really, I mean, for most people, it's going to be fine if you have acid reflux. That you might notice that the carbonation too will affect that. But yeah, right. So you have on the bottom here too. I have eat less of these, eat some of those, and eat more of that. Right? It's not. Don't ever, I guess, only this. Right? It's just reprioritizing. Like making sure we spend most of our time up in this upper half is going to help us in the long run.
So what do you do about the like bananas to bring along these little eye drop things that you put in water?
Right. I mean, so an artificial sweetener. Oh boy, it's any one of these topics we could spend an hour talking about. You know, you can think about where that probably is on the spectrum. It's probably right around the same areas up here, right? You're still getting like, it's basically just water, but you put just a little bit of artificial sweetener in it. So that is going to have an effect on, like, artificial sweeteners tend to have an effect on what we perceive sweetness to be. So if somebody has a lot of artificial sweeteners, it takes more sugar for it to taste sweet to you if you have it a lot. So, right, and if you get used to like, okay, well, regular water tastes gross now. Like that's the downside of that. Like, oh, I can never have regular water because it tastes so boring. So, you know, again, it's all about that. If that's all you do, or you know, you have like little crystal light packets of stuff, same thing. It's just probably instead of being here, it's just maybe more in the middle. All right, we feeling okay on those? You guys getting the gist of all this fun stuff here? So this is a big one. I mean, we're a gym here too, right? So this is kind of our bread and butter here is like the movement piece of things. I mean, if you're wondering like, oh, why is exercise good for me? Like the list of benefits is about 10 miles long, but the big ones, builds muscle, burns fat, you feel really good, increases your metabolism, and it just helps. Your body's built to move. It's doing what it's supposed to do, right? It's just good for you. Your joints work better, stress relief. You go on and on. So I'm not going to try and convince you that exercise is good. I'm just going to hope that you're on the same page with that you feel good. If not, let's talk after, and we'll work on that. So yeah, let's do Fran and then do our Death by Tester workout, right? So if right now we are doing approximately nothing, like especially if you sit a lot at work, this is just a really big one. Like we just need to start moving again, right? So if we're sitting all day at work, what's something a little bit better we could do? Let's try and stand a little bit at work. That makes a big difference in your circulation and how your joints feel. I notice the same thing. Like if I'm sitting on my computer a lot, I stack up a bunch of board games, so I have a little standing desk. Doesn't have to be fancy. But standing for a little bit during your day makes a huge difference, right? So even if we just start with that, your body's going to burn more calories standing versus sitting, right? We can start to move that needle and see significant changes if we just move a little bit and stick with it, right? And then maybe we start walking, and we start doing some just like nice, easy bodyweight stuff or some yoga or something like that. And then, you can kind of keep going that way as far as you need to. So some resistance training there. So, most people get a little bit of cardio, a little bit of resistance training. It's not rocket science, right? We're just built to move. It doesn't matter what type of exercise you like. If it gets you the results you want, if you can do it consistently, there you go. That's it, right? We do CrossFit here because that's what I like and what a lot of people like. But, if yoga's your thing or Zumba's your thing or running, just do it. Whatever you can stick with consistently is good. All right, so we try and move every day, even if we're not exercising every day. Try and walk a little bit, try and stand a little bit. Do some burpees, right? Never go wrong with burpees. Yeah, just move a little bit more. And then sleep, this is a big one. As somebody with a 3-year-old who's not super into sleeping through the night still, sleep deprivation is still a very hot topic at our house. So if you have less than 6 hours of sleep per night, quality sleep, that is considered, medically speaking, sleep deprivation. So we want to have more than that. Most people do best on 8 to 9 hours a night. I know that's, realistically for a lot of people, maybe that's not possible, but we have to make sure we're above that line. There's a lot of studies out there, I can send you links, but in terms of just our stress levels, how we recover, the hormones in our body just look drastically different, drastically worse when we're kind of get below that 6-hour line. That's a huge contributor in hormone regulation, just like food is. So if we're not getting the sleep we need, we're not getting the hormones our body needs, especially when we're exercising and things like that to help us repair our bodies and recover faster. It's huge, right? So people who are in the sleep deprivation category decrease their ability to burn fat in one study was by 55%. So they had 2 groups of people. The only difference was one group was getting more than 6 hours of sleep, the other was getting less. And the group without the sleep burn on average 55% less fat over the same period of time than the other people, same exercise routine, right? That's huge. 55%, even if it's half of that, 25%, that's still absolutely not something we can ignore, right? And then tying back with our blood sugar levels, being sleep deprived decreases our sensitivity to insulin, so your body produces more and more extra, and that's how we get on that road to type 2 diabetes, which is not where anybody wants to be if you can help it. And again, hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin are 2 big ones that control our hunger cravings. Yeah, it's not great. We feel less satisfied from the same foods if we don't have as much sleep, even though they're the same things we'd be eating otherwise. I notice that too. The days where I get up to at 5 to coach the morning classes here, I'm just hungry all day, even if I don't work out. That's because I didn't get as much sleep. Yeah, feeling tired sucks. We're in that I feel like U.S. culture, whatever, it's just sleep when you're dead sort of thing, and I don't know. That's just not the way to do it if it's up to me. So, things you can do. I don't think I made a continuum for that one, but there's just some practical steps you can take to help moving the needle on quality sleep. If you can't control how much you're sleeping, your schedule, you literally just can't expand your sleep window, you have to be really focused on getting good quality sleep. So making sure you're not waking up a lot throughout the night, getting that deep sleep. So things like not having your screen on, that blue light an hour before bed, that just, our bodies are used to treating that like daylight. So it's all right, staying awake. Doing something relaxing before bed, maybe not watching Game of Thrones right before bed or something. It's probably not the way to go. I'm a big fan of reading nonfiction. That's my thing to calm down and just not think about anything else, not worry about tomorrow.
You really mean fiction?
Fiction, yes. I mean fiction. Yeah, I do that like every time I write something like this. So yeah, nonfiction does not work for me. Like I can't read like a business book before bed. So I'm like, oh man, I gotta do this marketing campaign, like email this person. That's not the way to go. Like I read like sci-fi and like fantasy stuff. Doesn't have to do that, but just something that's gonna like kind of take me away from the regular day, and then I put it down and just like go to sleep.
Am I boring?
Right. Yeah. For some people, like, you know, just listening to some like relaxing music, journaling can be really helpful too, depending on what you do it. I like to focus on positive stuff, like a gratitude journal, like write down some things you're thankful for. Just find a routine that works for you, right? Toddlers aren't the only ones who do well with routine, like humans do too. So anything you can do to try and keep that sleep schedule consistent too is going to be helpful, right? Even if it's just going to bed around the same time every night. But if we have like our weekday schedule and our weekend schedule is significantly different, that's going to make it all feel harder. Right? Humans thrive on consistency, so we want to give our body that as much as we can. Less alcohol is going to help you sleep better. You can go to bed a little earlier if you can, but yeah, that's not always in your control. I also like to tell people to make sure your room is like as dark as possible. Like even just like the little blinking LEDs on the smoke detector sometime, like every inch of our body has photoreceptors, like it's sensitive to light. You don't always realize it's not just your eyes. So just something to think about. Most people sleep better with a nice cool room. And I'm also a big fan of a noise machine, like a fan, something to just keep the noise low. Especially if you live here in the city and there's just like cars honking and like stuff happening all the time. Like do whatever you can to make sure you're not going to wake up for every little, you know, car door slam. Right, so even if we just pick one of those things to start with, and like, you know, you guys know yourselves, you probably have an idea, like looking at these like, oh, I could definitely be better about that one thing. That's all we have to do to start is like pick one, do that for a while, and see how it goes. And you'll probably already move the needle, right? Control what we can control with that. Sound good? Stay awake for a while yet. Here, we got a little bit more. All right, so those are just kind of the like 4 main areas that most people can start with, like some things to think about, right? Everybody's so different in terms of like where you're at in those areas, but the areas we need to focus on are essentially the same for the vast majority of people. So nutrition is both like pretty simple, but also highly personalized at the same time, if that makes sense. This part is just talking about how we actually form a better habit. Like how do we be successful in trying to change one of those areas? So this is what it's all about. We're trying to play the long game. We have to just keep the bigger picture in mind. Quick fix stuff like doesn't work. If we really want to like make lifestyle changes and do stuff that's going to last for the long term, we have to keep that in mind and just look ahead for the longer version. Like instead of checking in like next week after my 3 days drinking water or whatever, like we got to try it for a longer term than that if we want to see results for people, right? There's a reason, like even for like an in-body scan, I only recommend it for most people like once a quarter is fine. We'll be able to do it at the end of the challenge too, so you can see a little bit, but that's a little more drastic change than potentially we'd usually do. So it's really important to start with something easy, like easy, like slam dunk, 100% I know I can do this easy. So like with my nutrition clients, like Trisha has went through this with me recently, like these have to be things that you are ready, willing, and able to do. Like you can think about that. They're all three of those things are a little bit different. You might be willing to do it and able to do it, but just not ready. You have to pick something that checks those 2 boxes. You're at least 90% confident that you can do. So it should be like, okay, unless like, my car explodes this week, I should be able to get to the gym one time. Like something like that, right? Straightforward, something you can easily measure and track. So it goes back to what we said at the beginning, success breeds motivation. We have to pick something that's going to help us find wins, and then we keep layering that on, right? So we start with something really easy. Specific time frame, how we're gonna check our progress. We kind of have that fleshed out. Then we try it, and then we evaluate. Like, how did it go? Okay, if I wanted to do it for a week to start, the end of the week, did I actually do it? Did it actually feel easy? Like, what barriers did I notice, and how can I address those to take on the next time? What do we need to fix? If we didn't do it, make it easier. Okay, if you wanted to get to it twice and you didn't make it, do I need to make it once to start? Is that our level of consistency that'll be achievable? Like, that's fine. We'd rather have you do it that than just keep trying to make yourself do something that's not possible for you. So if you did it, you nailed it 100%. You drank your 1 glass of water a day. You ate a vegetable, whatever it is, right? As simple and silly as it might seem, that's great. Try it for another week. Make sure it's not a fluke, right? We want to have that consistency. We want to be able to keep building on that. And if you did it for another week and it's like, I got it. Didn't really have to think about it. This is easy. I checked all the boxes. That's when we'd start saying, all right, what's next? Or how can we move the needle a little bit more, right? Just slowly working our way up. And before you know it, like, okay, let's say we add one new habit a month for a year, then you have 12 new healthy habits, and like, absolutely going to make a huge difference, even if they're all small things. Or maybe you just pick one thing and take it 12 steps better throughout the year, right? There's a lot of ways to do it. If you didn't do so well with it, you got to, and this is where it helps to have somebody to talk to and like talk through your barriers with it. Like just talk through those things. Like what stood in your way? Was it like an act of God, or was it just you not doing it, or like not taking action? Like there's a lot of different things. And make it easier if you need to. Simplify it as much as you need to. Like I said, like literally like, okay, I was gonna eat 2 vegetables this week. I didn't do it. Let's eat 1. Let's eat a piece of broccoli this week. Start with that. So everybody's at different places, right? And if you're not sure where to start, I pick one of these categories too. You probably have an idea in your head already of like the one that you are most interested in. And there's not like a right or wrong answer. Like with my nutrition coaching clients, it's the same thing. Like I say, here's 3 or 4 different things I think we could start with. Which one interests you the most? Which one are you most excited about? Let's start with that. So there's not like a right or wrong one here. I mean, if I had to pick one area, probably be the sleep, honestly. That's going to affect everything else too. That's going to affect what foods you're craving and how much you're wanting to eat and how you're feeling. It's a good place to start. So let me start. Let's just say, what could I do that would be a little bit better than what I'm doing now? That's it. Pretty simple. I think everybody can conceptualize what that might look like. And if not, bounce your idea off somebody and say, hey, would that make sense? Like having 1 beer instead of 2 at the next happy hour, stuff like that. So here's an example. I don't really drink any water. I just drink Bang energy drinks, like Jared did for a while. Good times. So here's our new habit. Let's try this. Let's try and drink 1 glass of water with dinner 5 nights a week. For some people, that might even, maybe that's even too much. We'll see. But again, we go back to that. Is that ready? Are you ready, willing, and able to do that? Are you 90% confident you can do it? If not, maybe that turns into 2 nights a week or 1 or whatever, right? So you can kind of make the statement. I'm going to make a mark on my kitchen calendar each night that I have a glass of water. Yeah, you can make a little square on your place where you can track it. Mark it off if you did it. And then next week, at the end of the week, you check in. How did it go? Maybe I got all 5. Maybe I only got 2. What do I need to adjust? Do I need to make it easier? Did something else happen? Did I get sick? Whatever. And just make the decision for what you're going to do the following week. So we're looking at small chunks of time in order to just kind of continue to play that longer game. Does that make sense? It's a little bit backwards almost, but so we don't have to think like set this like long-term goal yet if we don't need to. You just take it one day, 1 week at a time, and that's enough. Because like, yeah, like saying, yeah, I'm going to have a glass of water today sounds easier than I'm going to have 175 ounces in the next 16 days. I'm going to do that for, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Do you have a question?
So like something like that, even if you get it, it's pretty subjective to know how much good that is.
Well, right. But it's not going to hurt you, right?
Right. But maybe you can kind of subjectively figure out, am I feeling better? Is it helping me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you're doing that evaluation, like that's part of it too. How did it go? Like, did you feel better? Did you feel worse? Did you feel the same? That's part of it too, to know like, am I on the right track? You said like 1 week is a small sample size. So in terms of seeing a difference, if you did that, are you going to see a noticeable difference in your in-body scan after 1 week? I wouldn't recommend you do a week-to-week in-body scan anyway. No, probably not. But it's just continue to do that over time. We make it a habit so that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, we've been doing that every week. And that's where we really see the benefit of that. And by then, we've probably added on some other things too. Right? Because chances are you keep doing this consistently, you're drinking some water with dinner, that water's going to help fill you up a little bit. You're going to be better hydrated. You're probably not going to eat quite as much at that dinner, which, depending on what your goals are, might be good for you. But it's just the idea of just finding ways to move up the spectrum versus trying to go from 0 to 100. Right? If you don't drink any water, drinking a gallon a day or something is going to feel like you're drowning, right? So yeah, it'll feel gross. Exactly. We're not trying to feel gross. We're just trying to feel better. So want to do something that's achievable and doable, so we feel good about it, so we can continue to do that. Right? Psychology, that's just how we work. We need that. We need continued success. And like it's the same thing in the gym. We try and celebrate people's PRs and successes every single chance we get. Like, hey, that's the most box jumps you've ever done. Good job. We keep doing that. It's not a mystery. We like to be reinforced with success. So, and just looking back at it, is this a good example of something to do? Is it measurable? Yes. Is it easy to track? Yes. Did I put a finite time frame on it? Yes. Is it something I'm really willing able to do? That's going to depend totally on you. So, like I've talked a little bit about how nutrition coaching helps, and I think the biggest piece is right, having somebody help just guide you. Right, there's a lot of different places to start. You can take in all the info, have somebody to talk through it with, have that accountability, and have someone to help you celebrate those wins. Because sometimes it can feel like you're pretty lonely if you're doing that water thing and you have nobody to help celebrate your wins with. That can be hard. So having an accountability buddy, a coach, significant other, somebody who you're kind of talking through this with, I think can be helpful too. Right? And it's more about like the goals you're setting are very much about the process, like things you can control versus I want to lose 50 pounds. Like you can't control your body weight, you can control the things you're doing that are going to control your body, right? So that's just the way to think about it there. And coaching helps you keep that in mind. It's really fun. So just a couple of things. Does anyone have any questions on the stuff we've talked about so far? You feeling okay? Like it makes sense? Okay. So a couple things I wanted to do, because I tend to get like the same like 3 to 5 questions about nutrition like all the time. I wanted to quick go through these frequently asked questions just because you might be thinking it or wondering it anyway. What diet's the best diet? Like keto and intermittent fasting are like super hot right now. Do I need to do that? Should I go plant-based? I saw Game Changers on Netflix. Like, help. Like, what do I do? It depends on you, right? It's just like the exercise we talked about. Like, there really isn't a right or wrong diet. Like, everybody's different. Does it get you the results you want? Can you stick to it for a long period of time without feeling like you're going crazy? And you still can enjoy your life. Like, you don't feel like you're giving up everything you like to get this thing, right? Unless you're a professional athlete trying to get that like extra 1% performance, like you should still be enjoying the things. You should be still enjoying foods. Like, yeah, have a little piece of cake on your birthday, right? You don't have to just completely blow things up to do that. So, yeah, everybody's different. Everybody reacts to foods differently. Like, this is the important piece, not the way that we get there. I think there is a spectrum of these diets potentially too. I won't name any names, but generally speaking, most people need all of the macronutrients, carbs, fat, and protein to feel good and operate at full efficiency. The level of which is different for everybody, but any diet that excludes completely one of those, I'm generally not going to recommend it anyway. Right? And that can still, you can be a vegan and hit that. You can you can do like kind of keto, and you get a little bit of carbs. But anyway, just depends on you. And that's, again, a good thing to talk with your nutrition coach about, or ask your CrossFit coach or somebody to help you figure that out.
What diet would you not recommend? You said you were recommending on. What is it?
Like I said, any diet that completely omits carbs, or completely omits fats, or completely omits protein, or any diet that's like, okay, I don't want to call anybody out. So if you're on this diet, like, and it works for you, and like you're feeling good, and like your blood work that I'm sure you've had done like shows that you are healthy, then great. But like we talked about last night, the carnivore diet, we literally just eat, like that's kind of hot right now. But right, not eating any vegetables or fruits, no fiber. Like I hear things like that, and I'm like, oh boy, like, and that's the thing, like. Anytime people are doing something for themselves that they feel like is healthy, whether it is or not, they're going to feel good about it. So they might feel like they're feeling good. But I would probably bet that if they did have blood work done before and after, they would not be super thrilled with what comes back, right? Same thing with like a juice cleanser or something. Like, I always feel so good when I'm done. Well, you did something that you viewed as being healthy for yourself. Like the placebo effect will say, like, yeah, you're going to feel good about that. Whether it actually helped you health-wise, that's another story, right? So you kind of separate those things. So any sort of like extreme diet, those are the ones that I would probably rule out. On weekend, a balanced eating of macronutrients, there's a lot of ways to get there. And like diet-wise, there's people who maybe medically have to have a more extreme diet. That's not what I'm trying to get at there, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm just a nutrition coach. And like we talked about this earlier, what's the best supplement to take? Are you doing the other things first? And there's some exceptions to this rule, but for the most part, like this supplement that you're looking to take will do, 0.5% of difference, whereas if you just drink more water, you'd have 10% improvement, things like that. So start with the basics first. If you can't get everything you need from Whole Foods, then that's where you start to hopefully fill in some of those holes. The one that a lot of people, the most common one I would recommend for people is like a basic protein powder, which I think I had on here but got cut off. So things like that, like if you're really struggling to get enough protein, like let's try and supplement that macronutrient need with a protein powder. Short of that, eat real foods, sleep more, move more. Start with that. If you're already doing all those things, great. Then I'm happy to have this conversation with you and like, let's keep moving the needle. But most people aren't there yet, and that's fine.
Are there better things to eat after you work out? Like not supplements, but like I've heard that if like right after you work out, you build muscle.
Yeah, so I mean, and again, it comes back to like nutrient timing.
Yeah.
For me is like a second tier skill, along with like tracking macros and stuff like that. Like eating the right stuff at any time during the day is going to be better than like eating the right stuff only after a workout, but then the rest of, you know what I mean? So start with the basic stuff first. But yeah, if you are like, for most people, eating a mix of like carbohydrate and protein in a couple hours afterward will help you recover marginally faster than if you ate it a little bit later. That's all. Yeah. And again, that can be Whole Foods. That can be, yeah, right. The window of gains. People think, oh, if I don't eat 300 grams of protein within 10 minutes of leaving the gym, like I lose all my gains, right? No, that's not how it works. Is there some diminishing return? Yes, but for the average person, you're not going to notice as long as you're getting enough food, getting healthy foods and everything too. Right? So that's the name of the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And the last one here is, again, kind of ties back to the same thing. Should I start tracking my macros? How do I know what my macros should be? I would always start people with kind of the basics first. If you're just curious, like I wonder what someone would tell me they are just so I have a general idea, that's a different story. But for most people, like tracking how many grams of carbs and proteins and fat you have every single day, weighing and measuring every meal you eat is going to become very cumbersome very fast. It takes it into that like second level, like somebody who's like a more competitive athlete or semi-professional or just is really good at the other stuff and needs that next level. That's where I would recommend that for most people. Because some people can handle that tracking just fine and it's like no big deal, but for most people it gets to be too much and then it's easy to get frustrated quickly. If you are just wondering, like in general, what should my ratio of proteins, fats, and carbs be? Like how many calories do I think I should be eating? Things like that. precisionnutrition.com/calculator. So Precision Nutrition, that's where I have my certification from. They have like the most comprehensive base of like online articles and infographics on like just common sense nutrition that's out there right now. So if you have any questions on nutrition, search Precision Nutrition and then whatever that question is. They'll have a really good, easy to read article, probably with some nice pretty pictures and infographics too, that break it down into like, there's like a really good one on diet sodas that I was reading because I knew someone probably asked that question. It's the same thing. It's like, what's actually in it? So you can go to this calculator, you put in a bunch of information, your age, your height, your weight, what your goals are, like what your preferred style of eating is, and it'll break down as an approximation. Here's about how many calories you should eat. Here's what that looks like in terms of like a macro, like how many grams, and also in hand portions. So like how many palms of protein is that? How many cupped handfuls of grains is that? Which is another way to measure things. That's just something to look at, but for most people, it's not something you'll need to track 24/7 unless you're getting pretty serious about it. Unless you've nailed the other stuff and it's like cruise control on the basics. Make sense? Okay, cool. So I believe that's the first section there. That's our nutrition base. If anyone has any more questions about that, we can talk about it now. Does anyone have something they want to talk about before we talk about the challenge and what that actually is?
I guess
Yeah.
just, a lot of people just use a general scale as a measurement of whether or not they're succeeding in something. It seems like that's not the best measurement.
No, it's not. And like if we go back to, if it's going to let me here, that slide that had the continuum way back at the beginning, this guy, right? So measurements of, we have all these different types of things that we would measure. Like there's a lot of different ways to measure success in your fitness. That's why it's important to have lots of them, because sometimes you'll be making all these good changes. You might not see the results in your workouts yet or in your body fat yet, but we have lots of other different ways to measure it. So yeah, that's why we have our in-body scanner, because your weight is just one number. It does not take into account your muscle or fat, which is really the important piece. Like, what does that weight actually mean? Yeah, that's another good way to do it. Yeah, it's another, like, just, in terms of body composition, another way to measure things. So having the, like, you don't want to overdo it, but having more data is usually better, because you can almost always, you just have more opportunities to see how things are affecting you than if you're just measuring your scale weight, which I just don't recommend doing. So we see that all the time with people who start CrossFit. 3 months in, they're like, what the heck, man, my weight's the same. Like, well, how are your clothes fitting? Like, well, they fit way better. I like dropped 3 pant sizes, but my weight's the same. Like, you're kicking, like, you can do like twice as many burpees in a minute than you could before. Yeah, but you can't get fixated on any one metric of success. Yeah, I love that, right? Okay, well, all right. We can't just have one metrics of success with anything, generally speaking. Okay. Oh, these are so small. Okay. How are we doing? All right. So not share. Oh, I did the wrong thing. Son of a gun. Okay. So our 4-week jumpstart challenge here starts tomorrow. Goes 4 weeks long. It's all about learning new habits. We're going to talk about each of those 4 different focus areas a little bit more in depth and talk about more practical ways that we can move the needle. Right? Eating, hydration, exercise, and sleep. Simple stuff. I know we talked a lot about the all or nothing mindset, which is going to seem hypocritical of me to like talk about some of the things we're going to do, but I think there's a time and a place for kind of hitting the reset button, trying to clean the slate, and going cold turkey on some of those things that really we can kind of get addicted to, like sugar and those processed foods. Like, I know for me, like, a lot of people can't moderate. Like, if there's cookies there, I can't just have one cookie. Like, I just can't. I'm just terrible at it. Even no matter how much intention I have, it's just like nagging me. So it's easier for me a lot of times to just be like, I'm just not going to have any for a while instead. So that's more the direction we're going to go for this finite time period, knowing that throughout the whole time, we're going to talk about what do we do after and how do we pick the things that we're going to continue on with. Right? So this is some of the things you get. You get a meal plan, which is cool. I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. You don't have to follow it. There's a lot of good recipes. There's like a pantry and fridge kind of staple food list that kind of shows just a lot of the different foods that's helpful to have around, some good whole foods. We'll have a private Facebook group. A lot of info will be shared in there. Good place to share recipes, meet people, and everything there. You also have access to me. You can email me anytime. Brian will be around too. He's my other coach. You got your scan. We'll do scans at the end too for whoever wants to do it. I'm fine with that. And then you'll also have access to our all levels workout classes, which are twice a week. Wednesday nights at 6:45 and Saturdays at 10:45. So you'll get a couple these times you can come in and work out if those work for you too, right? So that's what you get, but like, why should you even do it, right? This could be a really good springboard for people to like make some healthy changes. Good learning opportunity to just find some things that we can work on. It's always easier to do this stuff together, right? I talked about sometimes if you don't have anyone to like celebrate your wins with, it can kind of like peter out. Or you're gonna have a whole bunch of people to do it with this time, which is really fun. And you'll just feel better like through the challenge, especially by the end here. If you're working on consistently and following the steps, like, you feel great. So what do you actually have to do? This is the fun part, right? We're going to try and remove sugar and artificially sweetened foods for 4 weeks, right? This is a big one, right? And this is like, again, it's a little bit against the all or nothing mentality. Like I said, there's a time and a place for it. I think in a controlled environment, knowing we're doing it for a finite amount of time, knowing why we're doing it, I think is the time to do it. We're going to try and remove alcohol. And keep in mind too, we can adjust this to fit your needs. You're like, that's insane. Like, talk to me. Let's figure out something. Let's talk about something, right? Let's talk about something that will work for you, right? So that's fine. Some people will have a little bit different rules, but for the most part, that's the idea. We're trying to significantly reduce those two for a while and see how we feel. You might realize you don't miss it as much as you thought you would. We're going to prioritize eating whole foods whenever possible. So just trying to move up that spectrum in our snacks, in our meals, in our drinking, all that stuff. And then we're trying to move, exercise 3 times a week or more for at least 20 minutes. That can just be walking. Doesn't matter what type it is. Doesn't have to be CrossFit, right? You got all of those classes. If nothing else, you can come check those out. That'll be fun. I don't know why I'm even holding this whiteboard marker. The whole time I've been holding it. Yeah.
Totally.
That's not a good idea. So, like I said, keep in mind, we can help you adjust to fit your needs. If you're somebody who All right, maybe you need to just have like no sugar at work. Maybe that's gonna be a huge step for you. That's fine. Reduce, yeah, right? So I had that on there too, but I also don't want everybody to just be like, well, like, this is not a time to half-ass it either. We're gonna find a happy medium, something that's challenging for you, but it's doable. And it might be different for different people. So I wanted to try and not give too much wiggle room, but having enough to make it still personalized, right? Knowing we're not gonna keep that forever. I think it can be helpful sometimes to start from scratch, and you're at that point where you can decide, like, how much alcohol do I want to be eating or drinking in a week? If we're starting at 0, like, we can add that in. It's gonna be easier than like trying to go down significantly. So it's just a different way to do it. So if you have big concerns about this, just talk to me and we'll work it out. We'll find something that'll work for you so we can keep going through it, right? It's just for 4 weeks. Easy money, right?
Some more examples.
Yes, I'll show you what the whole foods list and the recipes. That'll be a really good resource for you guys too. So you'll get that if you're part of the challenge. Each week we'll have like a different focus, right? One of those 4 areas. We'll have a little weekly challenge each week to go along with that with some prizes for participation. There's not a winner of the challenge. It's not a weight loss challenge. We're just trying to get a little healthy. So that's the idea. Yeah, like I said, they're not meant to be sustainable forever, and that's okay. That's just trying to, like, sometimes we just need to, like, this is like the equivalent of jumping in an ice cold pool, and it's gonna feel like a slap in the face at first, but then you'll like feel pretty good once you get it. Yeah, so it's $40 for 4 weeks. If you haven't signed up yet, come talk to me. We can get you in. It's gonna be good times. Here, I'll show you what the meal plan looks like, because I think this is a really nice resource for you guys. Oh, where'd it go? All right, so it looks like this 28-day meal plan. So if you're somebody who like just wants to have like your meals all planned and everything, it's got 28 days worth of meals laid out by week with a grocery shopping list for each week, which is nice, but don't feel like you have to follow the meal plan. And really this is just more for like some ideas and to know kind of what some more whole foods look like. So pantry and fridge staples, here we go. Here's like what are whole foods. This is some examples, right? Fruits and veggies, pretty much those are, go crazy on those. You have some different types of proteins, grains, nuts and seeds, beans, legumes, a little bit of everything, right? So there's still, we're getting those proteins, fats, and carbs, just getting it from more unprocessed natural type sources. So that's in here. It's a good thing. You can print that out, put it on your fridge to just like, I'm gonna pick some from here and some from here and some from there, and then boom. There's some other ones I can send out too if you need more. But then there's all these recipes. There's some smoothies, some snacks, some breakfast, lunches, dinners. That chicken almond butter stir fry is really good. I like that one. And then there's, so you can see it's laid out by week if you want to do that. And then there's grocery lists too, if that is what floats your boat. But yeah, that'll be a useful piece too. So that, yeah, we sell it online for 28 bucks usually. So, you know, between that and the all levels and the scan and everything, 40 bucks is a pretty good deal. Questions? Concerns? Like, what have I done? No, it's going to be good, you guys. And I encourage you to reach out. Like, if you have questions on your part of the challenge and you want to know how we can personalize a little bit, or if you have things you want to bounce off me, please let me know. You can email me, message me on Facebook, or you can post it in the group as a question too if you think there might be other people who benefit from the answers.
So how can we get this?
Yes, so that's next steps here. You're signed up for the challenge, right? I have your email, so we're gonna email that bad boy out later tonight. I'll also post it as a resource in the Facebook group. You can post files in there. And then I think I maybe had one more slide. So these are next steps for you guys who are already in the challenge. Make sure you're in the Facebook group. I've emailed everybody who's already signed up before today, so if there's anyone else, let me know. We'll catch you. Or just find somebody who's already in it. Take a look at the meal plan, the pantry staples, the recipes, and start to get a vibe for like, all right, what do I have in my pantry right now? And like, what should I start getting more of, right? If I'm planning my meals and stuff for the week. Start preparing your environment. Like, you know, there's like your kind of trigger foods, you know what I mean? Like everybody kind of has those. Find a different place for them, right? Give them to your neighbors across the hall or like whatever. Start to get rid of some of the stuff or find ways to replace it with something else that's going to be a little further up that spectrum, right? The office is a big one, your work environment. Any of those places, you know, you tend to make the decisions that you don't feel great about after. Start to think through how to get around that stuff and what your barriers are going to be. And if you have questions, like start asking in the group. If you have recipes that you love, post them in the group. If you're like, is this like, what should I think of this food? I don't know. Post the nutrition facts in the group, and like I'll help with that stuff. So we're all.
They're very excited.
I think they're starting a 10-day cleanse. I think is what Connie was telling me. So they're really jazzed about it. You guys need to up your game a little bit. If you're right. I'm just not as exciting as Connie.
I think we found the almost.
Ooh, should we boo them? That'd be fun. All right, cool. So that's the deal. If anybody still needs to get signed up for the challenge, let me know. Tomorrow's the first official day. So we'll kind of start each week on like the Sunday evening. I'll post a video into the Facebook group. I'll email it to you just in case you can't find it. Just talking about the priorities for that week and what the weekly challenge is, which will be very, very doable. And just more things about those different categories.
Can you explain
Yes.
the lean analysis?
Definitely. So let's quickly talk through the in-body scan. If you haven't gotten one yet and you want one, we'll do one right after. But we'll talk through what it looks like now for everybody. So let me go get mine here. Okay, remember these, right? Caveat, these are a snapshot in time. This has no bearing onto your value as a human being or anything, right? You're not a good person or bad person based on this. This is just another metric of measurement we have, along with anything else. But it's a better measurement than just body weight for sure. So at the top, it takes your total body weight and divides it up: body fat mass, dry lean mass, and water. I always think it's interesting how much water we are. It's kind of crazy, right? Oh my gosh.
Water.
Right? So, I love water. Muscle fat analysis. So next section, there's the down arrow. That region is like below the average range. And then there's the dash that is like kind of the average range based on your age, height, weight, all that stuff. Or average age and height. And then there's the upper one, which would be above that, right? So you can kind of see where your body weight lands on that spectrum. Your skeletal muscle mass, which is just how many pounds of muscle you have on your body, and then body fat mass on that too. So like you might see something like, all right, if yours are down, middle, and up, you might see like I'm here, like, so this is to weight one, my muscle's like pretty low, and then my body fat's kind of high. Like if you haven't worked out very much, you're like, you're still working on some of the body composition stuff, you might be more of that C shape eventually. You want to see it turn into more of like an I shape, right? So we're kind of starting bringing stuff to the middle, and then eventually you start to see that D shape where your weight is in that kind of middle zone, your muscle mass is above, and your body fat mass is at or below that, right? So that's kind of what we would look for over the long term to know that some of this stuff is working that we're doing. Obesity analysis. BMI is on here just as like an FYI. It's kind of a garbage metric because it's just your height and weight. No muscle, no fat. So you can see on here, 25 is considered would be like the borderline for being above or being like obese, basically. I'm a 24.9, so yikes, right? So, but your doctor would probably be looking at that. BMI, yeah. It's just your height and weight.
It says you're obese.
Yeah, somebody like Matt Fraser, best CrossFit in the world, guaranteed you would be medically obese, right? That's just, so your doctor ever gives you crap about your BMI, bring this to, right? Especially if like, okay, well, my body fat is in a normal range, my muscle mass is above normal. There you go. That's why you have a high BMI if you're really athletic. So just know that's there just as like an FYI. And then percent body fat, that's a much better indicator of overall health than BMI. Like it's not even close. So you can see there's like the below normal range, there's at normal range or above. For guys, 10 to 20% is the recommended body fat percent range, or like a healthy range regardless of age. 18 to 28 for women, again, regardless of age. And then there's the lean analysis that shows you by segment of your body how much muscle mass is in that area. So like left arm, right arm. Oh, excuse me. And that percent is, we call it sufficiency percentage. Saying compare, like relative to your overall body weight, does that limb or area have sufficient muscle mass to do its job? Like is it where it's at relative to the rest of your body? So you want that to be 100% or more. There's something to work towards it, right? 100% or more. These percentages right here on your different areas of your body.
So, but do you, what's the pound weight there?
That's how much muscle mass is on that limb.
Okay.
So there's the muscle mass on that limb in pounds, and then there's that's that sufficiency percentage. Is it pulling its weight essentially? right? And it's a good way to tell if you have muscle imbalances side to side. All of us do most of the time. But if it gets to be more than like 5%, that'd be like what I consider like a serious imbalance we really want to work on. And the last part here at the bottom, this just plots your progress over time. So if you did another scan on the same machine with your same ID number, it would plot weight, muscle mass, percent body fat. So if there's like anything to pay attention to, those are the ones that we pay attention to. Not just weight, you want to keep your muscle and your fat in mind too, because that's important. And if anybody's like really wants to nerd out a little bit, there's basal metabolic rate there, which you can use to figure out your recommended like total daily energy expenditure and all that kind of stuff. It's like how many calories your body expends just by like being alive and resting. It just laid there. You did nothing. So if you only ate that many calories, you would just like, meh. So again, just, and if you had a scan today and you're planning on doing another one at any point in time, I would make some notes like what time of day did you have a scan? What did you eat today? Did you work out today? Have you been drinking anything? Did you pee beforehand, or like did you have a full bladder? So all that stuff can, we're talking about percentages can make a difference too. So you want to try and keep it consistent over time with the scans, right? So just one metric, but can be helpful. Yeah.
So on the bottom of this grid here, will that update every time you do it?
Every time you do it. See, so I've been doing it like about every month for the last 6 months. You can see I've got a nice like plotted line there too. Keep in mind it's the dead of winter in Minnesota. Your body fat will be at its highest all year now, regardless of what you do. Like that's just how it is. Like it's dark, we're not as active, it's cold. We tend to eat a lot more like comfort food type food in winter. That's just what it is. Like there's going to be that natural up and down, but we're trying to just see how that whole thing is going. I PR'd my body weight today. Woohoo! My scan. Yeah, highest ever. Let's all do burpees. The most I've ever weighed. Yeah. I started CrossFit as like a stick figure, like marathon type guy. So everybody's different. Everybody's got different goals, and that's cool. But that's why this is useful, because it doesn't matter what it is. It can measure it for you.
How often do you recommend getting your food done?
Quarterly is fine. Yeah. Monthly is probably more than I need to be doing, but it's here and I'm always just curious, so I do it. But yeah, quarterly is fine, because 3 months is like, that's enough time to like really see a statistically significant difference. You did it every week, you're just I don't think it's not going to tell you very much. So
We are going to do it before and after.
Well, because we're taking a little bit more action than we probably would if we were just doing this on our own, or like kind of starting one thing at a time. So we'll do it, and things might change, maybe they won't, and if not, we'll talk about why that might be and what we can do for it too. So, good questions. Does anybody else need an in-body scan who hasn't done one yet? Okay, cool. We'll do those now. For the rest of you fine people, if you need to sign up for the challenge, you haven't done so yet. Either just hop on rippleeffect.com and do it, click on January Jumpstart, or come talk to me and we'll do it now. And then we'll do those invited students too. Cool. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Hope you learned something. I learned that Chris likes to hold purple markers.
I got the same question about water flavor, but I didn't Not at all. In the water, like the overhead spots on the rack, you say, in the ball,
Yep, for sure.